what are some other ways, that you might think about amplifying the smarts and capabilities of the next generation? What are some of the other tools and conversations that need to be happening with the next gen? Who wants to jump on that?
Well, I'm gonna throw something out that I heard very vividly yesterday on a call, and most of our colleagues within Gravitas are getting calls about, we want to spend time on strategy, because strategy pushes top line revenues, and the whole concept here is, where are we going to find, if the whole economy implodes, where do we need to be able to survive? And so they're talking about strategy. And I think that in family businesses, that part is critical to make sure that the family doctrine is probably the best word I can think of, is communicated and well understood, like the Europeans do it, so that it's an honor to be invited into the family business, not just a inherited thought process. And this is part that I think that we're going to start to see the difference in, not only in family businesses, but in all kinds of businesses. What is the strategy that is going to keep us alive, keep us from going under? And it's important that the family recognizes it as well, and be able to go back to what we talked about before, some of the ideas that some of the other generations have, and being able to integrate it nicely into a plan that really gets them to where they want to go.
Perfect. Tom, take that. I want to just bounce off of Terry's comment there just a little bit. We've talked about strategy several times. Can you just define what strategy is to you, and then what's the difference between strategy and execution?
Yeah, so I think, so strategy is the plan. Where are we? Where do we want to go? What's the plan to get there? It's defining this. The first thing is defining where we are. Secondly, where do we want to go? And it's the plan to get there. And right now it just seems so outrageous to think, oh my God, how could we think out 10 years or 20 years from now? But having at least a little bit of vision is, it's inspiring. It's kind of like, all right, that's where we're headed. That's what we're doing. Difference between that and execution, of course, is literally that. And so it's a rhythm of, okay, we said we're going to do this, kind of bring that big strategy back down into, what are we going to do this quarter? Who owns those, what we call rocks in our vernacular? Who owns that priority? And how are we doing? And making sure we're incrementally moving it forward. Get done with that quarter, next quarter, moving it forward. So that's the big difference is accountability. It's metrics, how are you measuring that accountability? And then a rhythm to review it over and over again.
Good. So in other words, what you're saying is strategy is more that right now, like you said, it's hard to think more than 12 months or 3 months sometimes, but strategy is typically that greater than 1 year, greater than 3 years, maybe even 5 or 10 years out there, where execution is, what am I doing day to day to bring home the bacon? How do we make these things happen?
And even in this environment, a strategy can be, so what are we going to do the next 90 days? What's the next quarter look like, right? Instead of getting, like, oh my gosh, we can't even imagine thinking, well, then don't. Just think next 90 days.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay. What are some of the other, we started this by the actions you can take today as the leader to amplify the smarts and capabilities of the next gen? Are there other things that, you would like to propose or like to talk about that, as a leader, I could work with my next generation. Other, family members can, family leaders can work with their next gen. What are some of the other ways to amplify that and build upon their smarts and capabilities?
So are you asking this to
Yeah, sorry.
the participants or?
No.
You know what?
I had started it off with Terry, and I was throwing it back to you, Tom. I apologize.
Well,
in
you know
terms
what?
of-
Let me throw something in here.
Sure.
I had a gentleman who was in the he was a big contractor in the Baltimore area, and one of the things that he had two kids that we were bringing through the company, and he said, one of the things I wanted to have them recognize is that we don't have all the answers, but we do want to be open. And this is one of the companies that had three or four other families working within the business as part of the leadership team. What he did was he took he had one of his friendly competitors hire his son, and I think, Mike, I told you this story. Hired his son, and he hired his competitor's son, so that they could educate them on things that were done differently, so they recognize the capabilities that what we do is not set in stone. It's flexible. It's got some breadth and depth to it. And that happened for 2 years. And he said the results on it was both of the owners got together and they said, what did we learn from this? And he says that our kids are capable of taking over the business if we let the reins go and let them understand the principles from which we work. And I thought that was an interesting story to put in here of try something. If it doesn't work, pull it back. But you have to be flexible to want to try something. And you want to be able to open up to the learning that you gain from trying something that might be outside of your norm. I hope I queued something up for you, Tom.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear from you guys, like Nick and Frank and Kay, Lori, Kim, Patrick. What's on your mind? Why'd you sign up? What are you thinking about? Because we can, I think the best thing we can do is share stories of how we have found other families to navigate just the challenges of being a family business.